All right. Ever since being shot down in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, everyone's been wondering, okay, what is President Trump going to do now on a new executive order or anything on better vetting of those who try to come into this country? The Chief Counsel of the American Center for Law and Justice, Jay Sekulow, on that. What do you envision, Jay?
I expect a new executive order, maybe even later today or tomorrow, and I think that executive order is going to put in place the clarification, and that is that those with green cards or visa holders will, in fact, not be subject to this particular executive order. It was unclear in the initial one. You then had the subsequent White House directive clarifying it. I think you cleaned it up that way and put it in there. There's another question that could come up, Neil, and that is the president did authorize, for exemption purposes, religious minorities. That doesn't actually have to be in the executive order. It can be, but it doesn't have to be because under the law, that exemption, so to speak, is already in place. So I think they're going to tighten this up and make it as bulletproof as they can, knowing they're going to have a hostile court no matter what they do, but that's a case you win at the Supreme Court.
I always wonder, though, whether it's too late for that, Jay, that in other words, would it be enough to win over judges who might immediately pounce, and whether the time for having done that or to straighten things out for the green card holders or some of the other issues you addressed, that should have been done at the outset. It wasn't, and now everything he does is going to be picked apart.
Look, I think you're bringing up something, Neil, that's real. It's not what's real in the court of law. It's what's real in the court of public opinion. And the sense will be, because I do think that no matter what the president does here, he's going to be attacked for it. The fact is, though, if I were the Attorney General, now we've got Jeff Sessions in there, what I would do is get the best order you could have forward. I'd put it forward to protect, the issue is protecting the United States. We need to close this gap that exists with these 7 countries. Put that executive order in place, defend it aggressively. If you lose at the Court of Appeals, which is probable, take it to the Supreme Court, you win it there, and you've got the order in place. And it also moots out this existing litigation. But look, I mean, in part, the cat's out of the bag. The problem already exists, but I don't think it's beyond redemption here. I think it can be fixed.
Is there, I guess there's a risk, and I know there are distinctions between executive orders and executive memoranda and general statements and all. But do you think that he almost came out the gate, not on just this, but on so many orders, so many quick-moving developments, that he ended tripping himself up and that strategy going forward might be more measured? What do you think?
Well, I think, look, when you're defending an executive order, the White House should be operating, and I'm sure they are now, under the assumption that what you're going to do is going to be challenged, as it has been in most administrations when it's something like this. So you have to be prepared for the challenge here.
But do you think he was prepared for such an immediate challenge? I guess that's what I meant.
Well, I think you had to be, and they weren't. And I don't necessarily blame that. By the way, I don't blame the president for that. I tell you where I lay that. The Department of Justice, of course, we had no Attorney General because of the obstruction that was going on. Yeah, and that impacted how this case was presented, and that got it off to the wrong foot. You heard those arguments, you saw those arguments. It was painful to watch, and it was hard to recover from in this particular litigation. So I think the reality is, at the end of the day here, the president is ready. The Department of Justice is now ready. They will defend.
All right. Jay, thank you very much. Great catching up with you.
Thanks, Neil.